What is up, my Pika crew? This is the ThePikaWu, and welcome to another Pokemon Wi-Fi battle. So today I've got a never used tier match against a guy called Shiro. He does post Pokemon matches and videos on his channel, though he mostly speaks in German, so if you are a German viewer, be sure to check out his channel. A link will be in the description below. So I had a lot of fun battling him with this new team I made, and I'm very excited to share with you this match. So if you do end up enjoying this video, please be sure to like my video to help support my channel. Now before we start the team preview analysis, a lot of people have been wondering why I am only posting NU and UU battles right now, and why there haven't been any other videos in the other tiers. And the main reason why is because I'm still learning the new changes in Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, and it's taking me a while to get better in those tiers. So once I get better, you'll be able to expect a mix of tiers and a mix of videos. And of course, you can expect the same level of analysis in each tier. So going into the team analysis, again I'm sticking with the Firegrass Water Core, since it seems to be working out fine in my previous videos. And in addition, I've selected a pretty specific offensive core this time, and this is in the shape of Rhydon and Kangaskhan. I chose two of the strongest physical sweepers in this tier, and then to cover their weaknesses I added Garbodor and Gourgeist for support. My team is pretty balanced with 3 dedicated defensive Pokemon and 3 offensive Pokemon, but one thing I'd like to mention is that I only have 1 special sweeper. On my opponent's side, he's got 2 dedicated sweepers, Zangoose and Archeops, and 1 dedicated wall, his Weezing. Now the other 3 Pokemon are unknown, and can be either a mix of offensive or defensive sets. But if you take a look at our type weaknesses, we actually have a bunch of weaknesses on our team. A big issue is that I don't really have a resist to Mesprit, which you will see affect my decision making in the match. And on his side, he is definitely weak to my Samurott. Now the biggest goal for me is to weaken his Musharna and his Weezing, because those are probably his physical defensive Pokemon, so that my physical attackers, my Rhydon and my Kangaskhan, can break through his team. So in this match, I had a really tough time predicting what my opponent would actually lead off with. I actually thought my opponent's potential leads would be Archeops or Mesprit, because both of those Pokemon can handle my entry hazard users, Camerupt and Garbodor. Another potential lead would be a Zangoose, because he can activate his Toxic Orb and Scout with Protect. But even though I don't know what he would lead off with, I definitely saw a clear choice for my lead, and I decided to lead off with Samurott. The reason why is I can 2-hit KO his defensive Pokemon while they can't really hurt me that much. And in addition, the only threat to that lead is his Zangoose. But Zangoose is basically forced to protect first as a lead, which gives me the opportunity to bring in my Zangoose counter, my Gourgeist. Anyways, that is going to be the team preview analysis, and I hope you guys enjoy this battle. So I'm going to lead off with my Samurott, while my opponent is going to lead off with that Wigglytuff. Now I haven't seen Wigglytuff in many matches, but I do know they're often defensive in nature with the Stealth Rock. So I'm not really too afraid just to go on the offensive and click Hydro Pump. He doesn't really have anything to switch into that hit anyways, and it should be a solid 2-hit KO against this Wigglytuff. So I can take it out next turn, but unfortunately for me, my opponent catches me off guard with the Choice Specs Hyper Voice, and that nearly takes out my Samurott. Although this Wigglytuff is going to get taken out, my Samurott's usefulness will definitely be cut short because of that Wigglytuff. So I am basically forced to switch out as he brings in the Mesprit, since he can outspeed me and take me out with a hit. So I do decide to bring in my specially defensive Camerupt to take the hit. And if he goes for the Thunderbolt, I'll be fully immune of that attack. Unfortunately for me, he just goes for the Stab Psychic, and it does a lot of damage. And I don't really have a resist, so I'm not really too willing to switch out my Camerupt and, have another Pokemon take the hit, since this is the only Pokemon I have that's really invested in special defense. So during this time, we both set up these Stealth Rocks, and that's kind of important because that means my Samurott is death fodder because it can't really survive a Stealth Rock switch-in, and at the same time, the Archeops on my opponent's side is going to have limited use. So my plan here is basically just stay in, deal damage with that Lava Plume, and maybe fish for a burn because it is a 30% chance to get that burn. And with Mesprit low enough, I'll be able to easily take it out with a Kangaskhan later on. But looking at this match after it happened, I feel like this is a key misplay on my part, because what I could have done was actually save my camera up for later and actually just bring in my Kangaskhan on the Psychics, because I do have the Assault Vest item on him, and he is going to have that extra special defensive boost to be able to take those hits. So now with my camera up taken out, I do bring in my Kangaskhan finally, and I'm just going to go ahead and go for the double edge. The main reason why is because that is going to deal a ton of damage against anything he brings in, since he doesn't really have a steel type to resist the hit. And if he brings in the Weezing, I'll be able to scout what kind of set he is, if he is physically defensive or specially defensive. So I am going to go for the hit. Unfortunately, it's not going to be a 2-hit KO, so I have to switch out because I don't want my Kangaskhan to get burned. So the Pokemon I do decide to bring in is actually going to be my Garbodor, because Garbodor doesn't really mind taking the burn, because it's simply used to set up entry hazards and take a few hits before it gets taken out. And he actually just goes for the Pain Split instead of the Will-O-Wisp just to heal up a little bit before he burns me. And that gives me the opportunity to actually set up entry hazards, because Weezing, it can't really deal much damage against this Garbodor, so I can set up as many hazards as I want. But knowing that my opponent really can't do much, I actually think he's going to switch out and possibly into his Mesprit. And that's because as I go for the spikes, he can get a free switch into his Mesprit and scare me out with the Psychic. And like I said earlier, I don't really have a great switch in against Psychic. So I'm very, very worried about his Mesprit switch in, because it's really a perfect opportunity to do so against a burned Garbodor. So I decide that it's worth it to actually take down the potential Mesprit than to actually set up spikes. Unfortunately for me, that's not the case, because he just stays in with his Weezing. I could have gotten 2 layers of spikes there, but I didn't. And before I get taken out by another Flamethrower, I'm just going to set up Toxic Spikes. The main reason why I chose Toxic Spikes over Spikes is because he does have the Musharna. And Musharna is very bulky, and it has a reliable recovery move. So I do want to get some residual damage on it with the Toxic Spikes. In hindsight, this is going to be a huge problem against my team, because I lost my Camerupt and I lost my Samurott, and those are my 2 special attackers. Unfortunately, this is going to be a huge problem now, because he does have 2 physically defensive Pokemon, and my sweepers are basically physically defensive. So I don't really know what to do against this Weezing. So what I do end up deciding on is trying to get residual damage on it with that Will-O-Wisp, but my opponent just predicts that. Very nice prediction, and brings in the Zangoose on the switch. Zangoose doesn't really pose a threat to me, and in fact is actually completely countered by my Gourgeist, so Knockoff is generally a threat to my Gourgeist, but because I have that Colbur Berry, that's not going to do much, and I can retaliate back with that Foul Play. And that nearly takes down the Zangoose, so this Zangoose is going to get taken down by Poison next turn, and if he switches out, he's going to die to Stealth Rocks. So what I do decide to do is just go for the Synthesis and heal up, because no matter what, he is going to get taken down, and I will be at full HP. So my opponent brings in the Weezing, and the reason why he brings in the Weezing again, because he originally switched out against my Gourgeist, is because he realizes he doesn't really have much against this Gourgeist, just like I don't have much against his Weezing. So what we end up doing is just compromising. We both trade off and just burn each other, because we both really, really need this residual damage against our walls. Now with this Weezing burn, it's a lot less threatening, because what I can do is eventually bring in my Kangaskhan, go for the Fake Out, get some burn damage, and then try to take out with a Double Edge. But I actually don't end up doing this right now, because I'm worried he's going to go for the Will-O-Wisp again, predicting my switch. So I'm just going to stay in with my Gourgeist and just go for another Will-O-Wisp in case he wants to switch out or something. So this Gourgeist is going to get taken down by another Weezing's hit. And that's completely fine with me, because I did take down his Zangoose, and I only really need Gourgeist alive to deal with the Zangoose. So what I do here is I'm just going to go ahead and heal up as he brings in his Mesprit. I was actually expecting him just to take me out, but he was just going to bring in the Mesprit, maybe predicting a switch or something. So what this means is my Gourgeist actually gets another chance to live, and I can take out this Mesprit with a Seed Bomb or any other move, basically. And for me, I think that's a good trade, to take down that Mesprit as he takes down my burned Gourgeist, because I really only need Gourgeist alive to deal with my opponent's Zangoose. But my opponent actually surprises me here. He goes for the Healing Wish, and you guys know what that means. That means that Zangoose is back in the game, and that definitely caught me off guard, because back then in 4th generation, Healing Wish mechanics was a lot different. the Pokemon gets healed after entry hazard damage, and now in 6th generation, the Pokemon gets healed before entry hazard damage. So that means the Zangoose is going to be a threat once again to my team. So what I do decide to do is just go for the foul play. The main reason why is because I did a lot of damage the first time, and I didn't know foul play's damage would do so little, since I thought it used the target's attack without being affected by the burn. So unfortunately for me, that's a big misplay. I didn't really know, and he is going to be able to take me out. Now, it's not too problematic since I do have a couple of options. I have priority with my Kangaskhan, since I do carry the Fake Out and Sucker Punch combination, and I should be able to do enough against his Zangoose to take it out. So what I'm planning on doing is hope he doesn't switch out to conserve his Zangoose for later, and basically just go for the Fake Out, stall, and then get some Poison Recoil, and if he isn't taken out, then I can take him out with a Sucker Punch. And luckily for me, he actually doesn't switch out, and I am able to take down the Zangoose pretty quickly. And he's going to bring in this Musharna here. And I just want damage on this thing, and I'm really not sure what kind of set he is. I know a lot of Musharnas are Moonlight and Calm Mind, but because he's probably that set and max defense, this Double Edge might not be enough to two-shot him. And as you can see, it clearly isn't, even after that Poison Recoil. So I have to think of a game plan to deal with this Musharna. So this Musharna is just going to go for the Calm Mind, knowing that it can take the hits. And I have to switch out because I know he's basically just going to stall me out. He can just continuously go for the Moonlight, and I am continuously going to lose HP from the Double Edge Recoil. So, yeah, that's exactly what's happening. I am dealing a lot of damage to myself as he's able to just basically heal up every time. And unfortunately for me, because I only set up one entry hazard for Toxic Spikes, this poison isn't going to, you know, build up and do exponentially more damage over time. So I have to switch up my tactics, and I'm going to actually bring in my Rhydon here. And the main reason why is because I might be able to set up the Rock Polish and the Swords Dance, and if I do set that up, he doesn't really have anything to deal with that Rhydon. And I know because Musharnas are naturally invested in HP and defense, even after a Calm Mind boost, it might not be able to do that much damage against my Rhydon. And even better, he's actually going to reveal that he doesn't carry the Psychic or the Psyshock. He actually carries the Stored Power, so that naturally has a weak base power, since he only set up one Calm Mind. So now I got that Swords Dance up, I'm going to go ahead and just go for the Rock Polish, knowing that I can survive another hit. And with +2 attack and +2 speed, I'll be able to outspeed his Archeops, and the rest of his Pokemon, his Weezing and his Musharna, should get taken out by either a Stone Edge or an Earthquake. So as long as I don't miss my 2 Stone Edges, then I should be able to take this match. So it is going to be a 64% chance for me to basically connect both of those Stone Edges. Can't go for Earthquake against the Weezing or the Archeops since they are levitating. And yeah, so hopefully I am able to connect those attacks. Unfortunately for me, I am going to miss my first Stone Edge, and that is going to pose a huge problem because I only have 2 Pokemon left, right? I have my Samurott, which is basically dead, and my Kangaskhan, while my opponent has this Archeops alive and his Weezing alive, still at green health. So basically the only way I can take this match is if I can take down this Archeops with a Fake Out and Sucker Punch combination, and then as he brings in his Weezing, I have to bring in my Samurott as death fodder and then hopefully go for a Fake Out and Double Edge to take down that Weezing. But unfortunately for me, this Archeops is going to live that Sucker Punch and take me out with that final Acrobatics, and I am going to narrowly lose this match. Now, a lot of you might consider this as losing because of hacks, but I actually don't consider it that way. I actually had a 36% chance to lose, and that's still pretty significant. And I did learn a lot from losing in this match, and I do have a bunch of takeaways. And the main takeaway I learned from this battle is to kind of look at my opponent's team and do some more rigorous analysis before starting the match. The main reason why is because, as you saw, I lost my 2 special attackers earlier on, my Samurott and my Camerupt. And if I looked at my opponent's team, his 2 defensive walls were actually physically defensive, his Musharna and his Weezing. So had I conserved a special attacker for the end game, this match definitely would have been a lot easier. I wouldn't have struggled as much against his Weezing. So the big misplay there was actually staying in with my Camerupt against his Mesprit, when clearly I had an answer with that Psychic, which was my Assault Vest Kangaskhan. It is a stab attack, but I do have that Assault Vest item, and boost my special defense. So I definitely should have, you know, kind of taken advantage of that more. But I didn't really think of that during the battle. So that's what I learned, and I hope you guys learned from this battle as well. If you guys enjoyed this battle, feel free to leave a like. And if you are a new viewer and you like my commentary, be sure to join the Pika crew by subscribing. So this is the ThePikaWu. Thank you for watching my battle. And until next time, peace out, guys.